Holy is he, the God of all creation, who created the earth, the very constellations. He formed us from the dust of the ground, filled our lungs with breath and our ears with sound. In our mother's womb, he intricately wove us. Inside his arms, he infinitely holds us. For he so loved us that he came to be amongst us, amongst the poor, amongst the needy, not the rich, the powerful, the greedy. He who was everything humbled himself and became nothing. No riches, no status, no dynasty. Yet even without those things, he was still God entirely. He could have been born in a place so lavish it could have competed with the best of them, but instead he chose to be born in the slums of Bethlehem. It's amazing to think that the Son of God could have came with a crown with so many jewels in it, had to be delivered outside of an inn because there wasn't enough room in it. Israel wanted a warrior, a political leader, but with Jesus, they would have neither. He came with a message of humility and praying for your enemies, and because of this, they looked at him with enmity. How could this man be the Messiah, they wondered, even though he constantly showed them miracles and wonders? It's hard to believe that the Lord had a human mind with human temptations, but yet even in the desert, the devil still couldn't break him. Where all of us have failed, he stayed faithful, only to be killed by a world so hateful. A world that witnessed the God of Abraham humble himself to the point that he ate with them. With tax collectors, prostitutes, and sinners were the very people that he chose to be with to have dinner. For they were the ones that needed the gospel most and the most suited to receive it, better than the teachers of the law and the Pharisees who didn't believe it. They hated him because he was everything they could never be, sent from the kingdom of heaven that they would never see. So they'd rather see him dead, beaten, tortured, with a crown of thorns placed upon his head where they had a chance to free him, but they picked a murderer instead. He who lived his whole life without sin and the reason we all breathe was treated like a criminal and crucified between two thieves. How could he who made blind people see and raised people from the dead be nailed to a cross by the people who saw it and mocked him while he bled? Where the night before he enjoyed a final meal before having to walk that perilous road, he was betrayed by Judas and denied by Peter 3 times before the rooster even crowed. And in that moment where he hung there dying in front of a people that he could have destroyed and it would have been through, instead looked up to the sky and said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And to think that he would endure all of this for us, feeling the weight of his Father turning his back on him while pouring out his wrath on him. How could the God of the universe meet such a horrible doom and have to be buried in another man's tomb? The world wanted a ruler, but Jesus came as a servant, was obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross when he didn't deserve it. And when they took his body down from the crucifix, all broken and battered, they tried to carry on like nothing he said or did even mattered. And after that, the Son of God lay dead and buried in a tomb for 3 days, yet no one knew that on the 3rd day he would be raised. For neither the grave, nor death, nor hell could hold him. And only when he rose in glory did his disciples finally understand what he told them. For they witnessed the prophecy fulfilled with their own eyes at the sight of the risen Christ. And because of this, each would eventually give their own life. But before that, Jesus ascended into heaven to be with the Father once again. But in exchange, he would send us his messenger, our greatest friend, to guide us as we long for his return in glory. For we are in the end times, but not at the end of this story. For we live in a broken world full of broken people, filled with so much pain and so much evil. Oh Lord, how we long for that day, for we are sinful people and we're so tired of being this way. For our bodies are so full of sin that we practically reek of it, where the sin of our heart is so deep we can't even speak of it. So we rejoice knowing that you will make all things new. And we trust you, Lord, because every word that you said, it all came true. From your birth to your death and resurrection until your second coming, where you restore all things to perfection. No sin, no pain, no death, as it was intended when you created Adam in the garden and gave him his first breath. For when that trumpet sounds and the 7 seals are broken, will be the moment that the clouds of heaven are opened. And there will you be, O Lord, riding with an army of angels to establish your kingdom. And for all those who curse your name, judgment is what you bring them. But for the ones you call your children, you will bring joy and immortality. Take away the brokenness to give us a new reality. And on that day when your glory is revealed for all to see, we will look to the sky proclaiming, holy is he.